Hello, here is another of the top 10 reasons why more and more people are feeling optimistic about Earth's bright future and their own from the book The Earthling Alien Chatroom. Reason number 7. Here is proof positive that progress is being made in all areas in society despite what you might see in the news. Things are far better than at any time in history, and that we are about to see an end to nearly all war, crime, violence, and cruelty to each other and to other animals any day now. I will prove this to you. I will show you that we have come a long, long way in a very short time in human history when it comes to how we treat each other, and that we are entering a new, bright age in all societies and between countries. In his book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, Why Violence Has Declined, Steven Pinker tells hundreds of stories about how we humans have treated one another and other animals throughout history, very violently and cruelly indeed, even torturing and killing each other, sometimes everywhere on the planet at once, and in all levels of society, without even thinking there was anything wrong with it. And he does not flinch in The Better Angels of Our Nature from telling how we tortured animals and even each other in very strange and inventive ways. He also talks about Earth's great hemoclysms, or wars that killed millions of people over religion, nationalism, right-wing dogma, or racism, or even just for the love of violence, rape, and the spilling of blood. Then he offers an avalanche of detailed studies and statistics showing how all of these things have almost dried up, and how current right-wing politicians of today are what the far left liberal politicians of yesterday were. Indeed, all right-wingers today, if you put them down even just 20 to 40 years ago in the same place, would be called leftist ideologues, and the goalpost keeps moving rather dramatically to the left each year, to the point where very soon the far right will have to endorse all of today's most liberal ideas just to be taken seriously on the debating stage, and to not get laughed right out of the room, just as we would laugh at or jeer and perhaps even throw things at people who said just a few years ago that those of color should sit in the back of the bus, have separate water fountains in schools, or that gay people need therapy in jail to cure their disease. If someone today said that husbands should be given bigger raises and promotions than women just because they were almost certain to be the breadwinners of the family, they would not be able to win even the lowliest seats in government. Think of how all people once thought that anyone who dressed differently than them was considered out of uniform and should be ashamed and shunned by society. Think about how a short time ago anyone could do anything to harm their pets or other captive animals without ever worrying that the law might put them in jail for it or fine them. Just a few short years ago, parents could beat their children without mercy and no one would call the police or think it was unusual. A man could beat or even rape his own wife and she would have zero recourse to do anything about it because the police would just send her away. Child laborers were almost ubiquitous just a short time ago, even in America. Entire countries would be overturned by corporations with enough pull in government in more powerful nations. And before then, there was a time when men actually owned wives and children outright, and they were considered his property. Once, crowds gathered in public squares to watch animals get tortured or burned to death for their entertainment, and this was thought to be totally reasonable. Many people even brought their children to these events and snacks so that they could laugh and make fun of it all day. Lords once had the right of life and death over everyone on their land, and they could even take the virginity of a wife before a man's wife was allowed to sleep with her own husband. The first half of The Better Angels of Our Nature deals with this sort of thing, and the last half tells how far we've come to be living in modern days without any of this. And all of these trends keep continually moving and improving dramatically, as Mr. Pinker points out, in greater detail than you would ever think possible. The far right in America and around the world has been thoroughly discredited and placed itself repeatedly on the losing end of history, and we are all the better off for it. Now, a bright new age of science is on us, and outer space awaits, and everyone's talents are needed and welcomed, including yours. This topic is explored further in the book The Earthling Alien Chatroom, the Futurists series. And while we may be living at the dawn of Earth's golden age, the past is still close enough to make us feel uncomfortable and ashamed of it, as we should be. But we need to remember those hard-won lessons anyway, forevermore. Today, evildoers have no place to hide from the internet, and they can only keep doing their secret bad actions for a little time before being pulled before the cameras and punished, though not with cruelty or unusualness. And since journalism has a hungry 24-hour news cycle to feed, they will always be showing us the worst of us. They would be committing suicide if they did otherwise. I mean, who wants to hear the news that things are going pretty good and getting better each day? I know I, for one, would be bored by that news and would turn the channel, even though I know it's basically true. So with our nose pressed to the present worst that humanity has to show us, we might want to take a step back from time to time to see that the big picture is actually pretty rosy. We are, in fact, living in the most brilliant, exciting time in Earth's history, and past kings and dictators would envy even the poorest and humblest of us alive today. You really never know what new miracles of invention and wonder you might see in the headlines when you wake up in the morning. If you have any questions or comments, or would like a transcript of this vlog or any others from me, please email me at braintrex1@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I hope you have a nice day.